mean, I trimmed it down a little bit. I trimmed down I mean, I've worn a goatee for many years. Now it's more old school, which is shorter, I guess, for me.
Right. Well, that's good though.
There's still further.
Do the Lincoln.
Yeah. Do the Lincoln.
Oh, the Lincoln, bro. Yeah, the Lincoln. That's wild, right?
That's a weird. That's a hard look to pull off. It's a bold move. Cotton is what that is. I don't think I don't necessarily think the beard is appropriate in that kind of manner. Personally, to me, I feel like it's a little too old school. It drives like a bit of like a pedophilia message.
What about the chin strap where it's just all under the chin?
Oh, there's this really how do I say this without, I got to really be careful with how I say these days because people are so offended by everything. Yeah. It's just, so as a very large part.
Did you mean to use the word bitches?
Yeah, bitches is what I want to use, but not to call this guy specifically a bitch. He probably is a bitch, but he's excessively large. And the chin strap beard on excessively large human beings looks really weird.
Oh, well, obviously, because there's an entire competition between flesh and fur occurring simultaneously.
That's exactly
that's what the visual is.
That's exactly what it is. It almost looks like sometimes the hair is running away from the skin. It's like trying like get me the hell out of here. Yeah, it's a really weird look, and I've seen that before. And it's like baby face, and then boom, chin strap beard, and you're like, whoa, what is that? Like, why'd you ever decide to wake up and go, I want to give my chin purse a handle? It doesn't make sense to me.
But the visual is also delightfully, it's just delightfully bent, which I also like. It's enjoying all the obscurities that humanity has to offer us, right?
Right. Well, and the thing is we're talking about it now. So
it's kind of course, it's good marketing.
It is. It's pretty good. Chin strap marketing. Matt, how are you doing, man? It's been a long time since we chatted, AKO. I don't know. What has it been?
A year, maybe?
No.
I mean, I've
on the podcast, it's been a while, but
yes.
Matt and I had an exchange on Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I let him know that he was fucking up by not having me on his show.
Yes.
And obviously, I mean, to put it politely, and, we've been far and long overdue for a catch-up session, right? So many things have happened.
Agreed.
So much has happened. And now we enter the spring of our disenchantment.
Yeah, you did call me out. I was like, oh, this is such a cool platform. And I really wanted to get in one of those groups with TLE. And I was like, this is great. Matt's going to be on because it's a Saturday morning thing. I was like, this will be great. I'll drink my coffee, smoke a cigar. And then Matt just went into like, boom, calling him out like on here. And I was like, well, I thought I was amongst friends in this group, but apparently I'm the outcast now.
No, we're very friendly. I have no problem telling anyone anything, as you might have already come to know, but friend or foe, like people need to know. If I didn't tell you that, would you understand that you were in fact incorrect?
I know.
It probably skipped your mind.
No, actually, I knew I was incorrect for a while, and it just kind of kept playing into it, and just kind of led into it. I was leaning in hard to be.
God. So you had identified that you were in an incorrect status with the booth, and yet did not remedy. So you failed to come correct. But now,
I did.
This is almost like a delayed correct coming.
Yeah, it is. Fact. I blame Chris, honestly, and Chris knows why he is to be blamed.
Oh, this is fucking Chris's fault? Let's talk about it, Chris.
It's definitely, it was 100% Chris.
All right, Matt, I'll take some onus. I'll take some accountability. Basically, you reached out to me and you're like, hey, I want to get on the show soon. I was like, that sounds awesome. Let me hit Corey to make sure that we can make that happen. And then I went radio silent on social media, like for literally months. Well. I did no follow-up whatsoever.
Yeah. So
it's all good. We're here now.
Yeah. And and honestly, man, I'm very super genuine when I say this. I absolutely love talking
I love it
to
too.
So it's like
for sure.
Man, I love it too.
I'm actually kind of jealous of the frequency you get to interact with TLE, although I plan on being on this on Saturday. It's because I love how insightful you are. And honestly, I really love the conversation on Saturday. Because I got into it. Well, I got into it in the beginning, but it was right as far as like talking about haters. You were talking about a story in terms of like Guy Fieri and some of the things that he has dealt with over a period of time. And I love having that conversation and just listening to everybody kind of chime in with, hey, these are personal experiences. Here's my 2 cents. And that was awesome, man. That was such a cool conversation because it wasn't necessarily cigar centric per se. I know like, I know that all kind of revolves around that world, but the conversation is applicable to all kinds of things. And I really thought that was awesome. I love what you're doing with them. It's really cool.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I actually really have enjoyed these conversations on Clubhouse. And I think that, I mean, whenever I have the chance to interact with them or with you guys, many people from the business, I always have a great time. There's always, a very stimulating volley of conversation thrown back and forth. And typically it's not, I mean, we get into all the, nonsense, which is fun. But then we always anchor back to, I think some very pertinent topics, cover things that I think can potentially, Jesus fucking Christ. I got to get a burner phone to do this, man. It's like people don't stop blowing me up. It never fails. Nobody calls me for an hour.
You're like Jennifer
Aniston.
Something
else.
You have to have like 6 phones.
She have 6 phones?
That's what I've heard.
Does Jenny A have 6 phones?
I mean, I think probably each one of her assistants has a phone and they answer accordingly.
It's like Saddam Hussein shit. 6 phones.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a dual SIM in every phone. So she has 12 phones.
Or she's not smart enough to have dual SIMs. So there's that too.
There's also that. She just wants that brick of phones. That's like rap game. It's like,
and they probably
look at my phones.
They probably are like early 2000s flip phone, like true burners. Yeah.
That's
what she's wielding those things around, right? That when you clip them shut, they still use those in the movies because they have a sound aesthetic to them. Like they have that click shut. So it's like, I've watched these like recent movies and I go, why don't people have smartphones? And it's because of that click. You can snap that thing shut. It's crazy.
Oh, click clack. I will take it a step further and I will say in the next chapter of whatever the fuck this is that we're into at this point, that I will only use phones that I buy off of the little fanciful rugs on the streets of Thailand from the street vendors.
Really?
Not even bodega burner, like full on, I'll fly to Bangkok, I'll buy 10 phones.
Very eclectic.
I'll come back. And those are my phones.
Is that because you don't like having the type of interactivity in the connection to like a smartphone, or is it a play of like,
I hate it.
Hey, look how cool this is. Look at me.
I think
I'm going to be retro.
No, for me, it's just like if I can graduate, right, to the point where I don't have to have a smartphone to run my business.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm retired, dog. Like that's when I'm at least completely financially retired. That's the way that I see it, because I pilot 3 different companies from a fucking cell phone in my pocket.
Yeah. That is crazy. Well, and let's talk about that. I actually was, weirdly enough, because you were talking about sitting on the toilet. I was sitting on the toilet earlier, and I was thinking to myself, I was thinking of you. I was thinking, like, what a piece of shit. And then just there again. No, I'm kidding. So the last time we talked, it was very centric, obviously, around cigars, rightfully so. We talked about the gin stuff, but we really didn't talk about other endeavors. We didn't really talk about the jewelry stuff that you do and how that all got started. I am actually very intrigued and interested about that, because that is essentially where you started, right? That's what you started out doing. Am I wrong in that?
Say that again. Someone had stolen my attention from you momentarily.
No worries. So the business of which you initially started operating was the jewelry piece of it, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you're still doing that today, right?
That is correct.
So that's one of the businesses.
Yeah, we run a very intimate production studio at 7th and Broadway, downtown Los Angeles. Been there 20 years, man.
And so that is that how you met? Is that how you met Flavor Town?
It actually is. One of my custom clients, his name is Jot Condi. Shout out Jot.
Damn.
Jot is the president of California Restaurant Association.
Okay.
And I was making him a custom watch band for one of his watches, and he told me, this is one of those things where it's like as you tread along the Hershey highway of destruction of the entrepreneurial adventure, this is very graphic. I think it was the reference to being on the toilet that you were in my mind for a second. Do you see how that happened? Are you doing the math fast enough to see how that was connected, or
yes?
Should I? I'll just continue. So, but I put it together, and then now I have derailed our conversation. So Jot, but it's energy based, right? So Jot says, hey, Booth, I have a dear friend that I am compelled to introduce you to. I just feel like you guys would really get along. Like, I know both of you, and I just see a fit, and he's doing some really interesting stuff. He just won this cooking competition TV show that, I think he's being set on, a different trajectory because of this. And, you're coming up building this brand, and I think there's just synergy there, and I want to introduce you. And so, a day later, I was on the phone with Guy Fieri, and we became fast friends. Got a lot of similar vibes, I think, in that equation. And, we had talked for some time, and I really liked him, liked where he was coming from. And I ended up making him one of our signature bracelets as kind of a congratulations gift for winning that show. And at the time when I still don't really give anything to anyone because it's all very expensive shit we make. But certain times exceptions can be made, and for good reason. And this was long before he was actually air quotes famous, right? So, that gift was never really lost on him, I think. And we, over the years, we became friends, and I've watched him obviously on a completely different plateau, surgically build his situation, but it's always been a consistent source of inspiration for me, because there are things obviously to scale that I can relate to, or watched him go through, building his machine. And anywhere from the type of people he's kept around him, from the gate to ways he's gone about things. It's actually very inspiring. So
yeah, I think it's interesting how he's like now very globally famous, and it almost seems like as long as he's been doing what he's doing, it just now seems like he's getting started. Like, I just read an article in the local paper to where I live that he's got a restaurant coming to Cincinnati, and then I read towards the end of the article, and it was like, well, there's all these other sponsored restaurant things that he's doing in these other places, and I was like, holy shit, he's literally building an empire. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, the empire is built, and but when you're building, you're never done building, right? I mean, that's
right.
All that stuff from deals on sauces and meats, and licensed restaurant locations, and his Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives has achieved over 400 episodes.
That's crazy.
Which is like more than Friends.
That's
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's
crazy.
And there's a certain level, and that's not my game, that's not my shtick, but like in that world, just as in every other world that he has come into and conquered, he's attacked things very surgically. And from my understanding, through him, once a show achieves 400 episodes, there's a different level that you're on, because any network understands that they could literally play the show daily for a year and never repeat an episode. So it puts you at a different level of value.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just very interesting to watch it all happen. But I definitely agree, if you weren't in any way, shape, or form connected, like optically, I mean, my man just got a star on the Boulevard 2 years ago, right? I mean, that's a completely different level, right? Than a guy that wins a cooking competition show. So he's very much going into another strata of celebrity, I think.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's so crazy to see just how big he's gotten over what seems like it seems like he's been doing it for a while, and then you just keep seeing him steamrolling. And honestly, he has he's got that kind of tenacity and he's got that aura about him where it's like, I've watched cooking shows for a long time and I go, all right, like the Bobby Flays of the world kind of get old and tired. Some of the other people kind of get old and tired. It's like, this guy stays fun literally all the time. And he's such a pleasure to listen to. I've listened to him on other podcasts. I'm like, you're just a cool ass human being. And I think that shines through in like literally everything he does. I don't know why we're talking about Guy Fieri so much right now, but.
Well, because I think he's, he's an example. You were trying to tether him to, examples of entrepreneurial success, right?
Right.
If I was not mistaken.
That is exactly what I was doing. And speaking of, so you were talking about earlier things that have changed, and it's cool to talk to you almost a year later, a little shy of a year later. So in your world, what has changed since the last time we talked, Matt? Like what progression have you made, and anything that you do, not just cigar related, but any other, the gin piece of the business, the jewelry piece of the business, what progressions have you made? Was there anything that stifled your ability to keep chugging along? What did diversion look like if you had to divert and recast your attention elsewhere? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah. I mean, the
Matt, you're breaking up just a little bit. Just FYI.
Shift. No, I'll tell you, bro. Better now.
It's kind of getting better, but it's still really choppy. But it sounded actually kind of cool because it sounded like a DJ started playing.
It was the prototypical, like, most profound moment to say something meaningful.
And it was
and then it's just like,
at this at all, or is this just freestyle? Because if the connection is shitty, like we can start over at another time, so just keep me posted.
No. It sounds good now. You sound good now. So
okay.
if you're sitting on top of a tree, stay there.
Got it. So, shifts in direction that we took at the onset of the pandemic, we've only continued to directions, right? I would say that the only hindrance in any component of our business was supply chain, right? There were moments in time when suppliers of certain products that we offered were shut down, and due to those shutdowns, we're completely backlogged. And when you're a private label, and let's just as it applies to, say, the cigar category, we work in all different tiers of factories, from major companies to smaller salons of creativity. And we'll get back to that later. But, when you're working with a larger scale manufacturer and their production coordinator tells you that their own company owned brands are back ordered 9 million cigars. And you say, well, what does that make me? 9,000,001? He says, yes. I was like, fuck. So, last year, in terms, and this was not intimate to me, this was the entire industry. So simultaneously, we're experiencing, in the premium tobacco segment, you're experiencing literally a boom, like a boom in volume of import, boom in volume of sales, and simultaneously, and that would impact supply alone, let alone supply was already affected, right?
Right.
So it was kind of a double whammy. I know a great deal of people. I mean, if you didn't double your business last year, you simply weren't doing it right. And for us, we didn't. But it wasn't because we weren't doing it right. It was because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do,
right,
in terms of the acquiring of the ammunition that you need to fight. But it was plain as day that we probably, and we came close, but we would have with our eyes closed, like with no additional effort, shift in direction in the way we reach our end user consumer, channeling that energy directly to them to continue to generate, maintain, generate, and procure new interest, right? and new energy around the brand that generates pull through, whether it's from e-com or brick and mortar or combination. If people don't care, they're not going to buy it.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's something that I think I took notice to during that time frame was just you in particular, your engagement around things that are more focused on the consumer directly and not so much. It wasn't, not that it's ever been this way. Like Matt Booth as Wizard of Oz in the background, or playing Puppet Master. You've always had a known face and you've had this known personality for a long time. But it was more like your intention around creating a connection to those who are picking your cigar off of a shelf seemed to be amplified to a very high degree. And I think even if not then or even now, but in the future, obviously those kinds of efforts pay dividends. And I guess what I want to ask you now is that you said, hey, we almost got where we wanted to be. We could have done it with our eyes closed. Where are you at now? So now that we are, let's face it, on the back nine, on the 18th hole of this pandemic, I would say and suggest, is your business seated where you want it to be now, given the current state? And what does the future look like? So what is the acceleration period back into, I guess, I don't know, we call it normalcy. It's such an overused term. It drives me nuts. But what does that look like now and going forward?
Well, because of what was happening last year, I made the executive decision to triple down on the most critical investment for any small cigar company. Was inventory, and the mother load for us is actually in the process of, it's inbound as we speak. So, by the end of next week, Matt Booth and Room 101 will actually be holding more inventory, well, I mean, for the time being, than any other boutique brand in the entire industry globally.
Holy shit.
Guaranteed. There is no boutique company. You come check my, my inventory report at the end of next week. I guarantee you there's no other boutique company in the world that's going to carry the amount of inventory that So I will never be, I mean, in theory, the theory is let's try to embrace ourselves, put ourselves in the greatest position possible to never run out of ammunition. Now, the joke's on us, right? Because the more you feed this beast, like all this is landing, right?
Right.
And I'm already trying to I've already scrambled to place forthcoming production orders because the doors that we're opening, the countries that we're opening, the accounts that we're opening, it's already all spoken for.
Jesus Christ.
You know what I mean? I mean, essentially between brick and mortar being able to fill pipeline, maintain our current, maintain the support for our current existing customers, in addition to the new channels that we're opening. You got to remember at one stage of our life, this was a much stronger brand, a much larger brand, and a far more a brand with a far more widespread distribution. So, as my philosophy, as I stay true to my philosophy of continuing to do more business with less people, to continue to funnel the brunt of our business strategically to retail partners that are genuinely partners, right? That's phase one. But phase two is that the floodgates open up because you've regenerated all this organic interest in your brand and the demand is there.
So what is
the retailers see, they have to be aware of, if they're not asleep at the wheel, that, there's a lot of product flowing from our brand and not to some of them.
Yeah. So that's actually my next question, as far as like, and I understand the concept around creating that brand recognition and wanting an organization to want to have your product on the shelves, as opposed to doing the adverse, which is trying to sell the idea of getting your product on the shelves, which I think is awesome. Have you seen that strategy as it takes place, or as it has taken place in the past? Have you seen that strategically successful? And do you think maintaining that over a period of time, that in particular strategy, which it sounds like mapped with geographical expansion, am I crazy in saying that? Because you sounded like you said something about other countries.
That's correct.
Okay. So you're looking to maintain that same sort of strategy all over the place then?
I mean, for us, it seems to work, right? And every brand and every company is an organic entity, and there's not a one size fits all solution here. For me, that works.
Right.
But you must remember, I'm fucking delightful.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was going to say, it's you, Matt. Come on. Not
well, so when I spread my infection into people, which is one of my favorite things to do, the reaction is not going to be the same as, brand, owner X, or even vomit in my mouth brand ambassador Y. I can't stand this term is so, I don't know what's more gut wrenching, that or the visual of the Pontiac Aztec.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know which one is more.
Like a quasi. It looked like it was shaped like a tent in the back.
Oh my God!
That piece of garbage.
Yes. No, you know what it is. You know very well what it is.
There's a reason Pontiac's not around anymore. I think the Aztec killed it off.
I mean, who the fuck they sat? I mean, that took a lot of time and effort and money, man. Like when you saw that, I was like, that took a lot of money to realize that vehicle. It's
some designer going through that R&D process was like, just wait till you see what we're coming out with. And everyone's like, wait a second, is this a part of a shoebox on a wheel? What is this thing? They're atrocious. And
what type of daisy chain?
It's like some like quasi off-road vehicle, supposedly, but it's
it was. I believe that was marketed as, family SUV meets take the family, grab the kids from school at the end of the week and drive out there into them our hills and pitch the tent out of the back. And, and tragically, the thing is so disgusting, and it looks like the SUV version of the Prius, yet the Prius seems to be completely celebrated. Also a very visually disgusting and off-putting vehicle.
Very, very much so. And I've seen your prized possessions in terms of vehicles. I just assume that you weren't a huge Prius fan.
They just don't do it for me, boss. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm all for the environmental stuff. I mean, not in my old school rides, obviously, but I think there's a place for it. Long term, there's a place for everything, pretty much. But why make it look like that?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, did you have to mash this you have to make it this way to mash everything that needed to go in here? And like, that's the only way the capsule could look based upon the internal components? I would argue not.
I would agree with you that the word would be not.
Yeah, they just made it look silly. And it's almost like they made it look silly so it did stand out. So people took notice that it made it look silly, and they go, but it's also electric powered. So there's that. Like,
but there are ways. I mean, look, the Tesla is a far more aesthetically pleasing vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's very pretty. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that I would roll one, but I mean, I can appreciate the lines of the Tesla. I think it's a very attractive vehicle, but it's, look, in any design, it's very hard. Okay. You have to have a very special talent in any field to be able to design a product, an object, whatever the case may be, that is special enough or intriguing enough to captivate without being a full-blown contrived test tube baby product, right? And I think that's what the Prius is. I think it was a contrived test tube baby, and I think that it was designed to look very different than anything else that was on the road. They could have just made it very different and attractive. I mean, that's possible, right?
Yeah. No? I mean, seemingly so. And I can't help but to reflect on like, not necessarily all electric, but like hybrid vehicles. Like, okay, they'll make a hybrid Hyundai Sonata. Mm-hmm. So there's a regular Sonata, the 6-cylinder Sonata, and then there's the hybrid Sonata, and they both look exactly the same. And maybe the Prius was this whole idea of, we're going to create this environmentally friendly car that also has to look environmentally friendly. So if you think about what environmentally friendly could look like, I think at the time that's what made sense. I think so.
Is that the physical?
I think it's exactly
three-dimensional representation.
Yes, 100%.
It is.
Yeah.
So not like Thomas, the little train that could.
No.
Not like
no.
Not like No, nothing. Just that
That's
thing.
exactly. I think someone had. I think whoever the lead designer was had a trip and was just like, you know what the environment would look like if it were a car, and then he was like, boom, he put it on paper, and there's your Prius.
Is it some sort of turtle? Is it a slug? Is it a fish?
It's
Is
everything, Matt. It's everything.
It's all.
It's all.
Like Zoolander 2, it's all.
It's all. It's everything in the
Remember all?
I do remember.
Do you remember all? Oh my God.
Love
that
it.
Movie's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, totally agree. Anyway, we were talking. So I want to rewind back to, because you talked about the Aztec, which was such a great tangent. But you were talking about ambassadors, like the brand ambassador.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So, okay. So I've thought the same thing. Why, in your thoughts and feelings, do you think that an approach like that from a manufacturer's perspective has validity and works? Or do you think it's just a kind of a stupid shell tactic?
Well, man, I mean, I think that if you wanted to, it's tomato, right? I think that if you wanted to say Matt Booth is the ambassador of his brands, you could say that. But you could also say that Matt Booth is the founder, right. Matt Booth is the creative director, and Matt Booth is the owner of those brands. And I think that those monikers carry a certain level of weight that brand ambassador does not, by a long shot. And I think that you know, brand ambassador, sales manager, you know, the lines are very skewed at this point in market across many industries. And I think that for larger scale companies that have to have some sort of humanoid somehow is the embodiment of their brands or brand, that's the tangible, fleshy asset that people can interact with. You know, I think that that's, I guess, important. Right. And my lens is a little skewed because I'm an owner, always have been, always will be until I'm not, if you know what I'm saying. Right. But okay. So, but you know what I'm talking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, I think that, I guess they're necessary. It's just like, and some people handle that role masterfully, right? And they take ownership of the representation of the brand in a way that is not just some other salesperson, ... Right. They really become, in a very authentic way, melded to that brand. And I think in those instances, I think it works magically. For the most part, that's, you know, the exception, not the rule. And I think that for the most part, you know, it's there's no point to that position. I think it's a waste of money most of the time, if they're not piloting other aspects of the brand's business. If they're a salesperson and a sales maker, not an order taker, by the way, which we all know there's a tremendous difference between the two of those.
Huge disparity between the two of those, yes. Yeah.
And, you know, and they are also strapped with this accelerated, you know, Rolodex of knowledge on the brand, and they are more than your average salesperson. You know, I think that that's phenomenal, you know, but just a person, just a you know, a warm flesh vessel that goes about and, you know, attempts to entertain people for 45 minutes at a pop about the brand with no salt to what they're talking about, I don't think is a viable investment for any company, right?
Yeah,
but I think so many people think they need that.
Yeah,
what
I think
it's like Elvis impersonators. You need to get a bunch of people that dress up like Matt Booth, that speak like Matt Booth, that act like Matt Booth.
Dude, Matt, I'm going as you. I'm going as you for this coming Halloween. It's gonna be awesome.
Fucking A.
And
I'm down.
You shake them hands and kiss them babies. And you can
you
be
call
in
me
hundreds of places at the same time.
Yeah. And they can all call me on my, you know, Bangkok, Thailand burner phone and let me know how it went. And I'll be at the crib with my son. Yeah, it'll be great.
That's fantastic. I will say, like, it does seem weird in the cigar community how more often than not that misses. But then I reflect on like the spirits community. And I think bourbon in general, I think Al Young from Four Roses, who really embodied that entire organization. And that was who he was for an extended period of time. I mean, they made one of the most successful bourbons. The Al Young was the 50th anniversary after him, which was just wildly successful. That's an instance of where I think that works. And even the guy who works for Buffalo Trace, I forget his name, it's kind of the same way. So like, it seems like somewhat in the spirits world that works, but it hasn't ever really landed in the cigar world at all. Do you see anything like that in particular with Jen, Matt? Like, is there something in terms of like, I don't know, by the way, I don't know shit about Jen except my wife loves it.
Right. Which means you love it.
Yeah. Well, yes, by nature, of course. Is that something that exists in that world?
Well, I mean, the brand ambassadors and sales managers many times, and I'm just saying this is from my interaction in the spirits side of our business. I find that a great deal of people that are salespeople somehow project this image that they're or present somehow as if they're a partner in the company through kind of like their style of presentation and I guess gray area in what they're saying. Because I've approached several people after their presentations and I've started to engage with them, and it's not to slight people that are in a sales position versus ownership, but it's like, based on the way they presented, I thought I was walking up to speak to one of the owners of the company.
Right.
And it was the furthest thing from the truth. And I think that that's a very common way to present in that business for whatever the case may be. I mean, there are all these little cultural variances
that's interesting.
Across all categories of business, right? And that just seems to be somewhat of the thing for the dranksters, I don't know of any, the Captain Morgans of gin, I don't know where he's at.
Right.
Maybe it's me.
It could be you. Why couldn't
it could be me?
You?
I should be the pirate of the gin business. I kind of already am in a very macro way.
I love it. How's that going, by the way? It was like the gin impacted the same way in terms of actually, wouldn't it be impacted more positively, I would assume?
So off-premise spirit sales were over 400% increase last year.
Right.
And that was across all spirits, right? It was the industry as a whole. And gin actually, unlike spirits that have to be waited on for years, can be manufactured, rested, and shipped within 60 days, So that's a benefit.
It's a huge bonus. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And we opened, and kind of par for the course last year. I mean, we activated states and opened relationships with new distributors at times of the year that no one would have ever considered taking a new brand into their portfolio. We're in the process of opening the state of Texas right now, which will be huge for us.
Nice.
And activating some accounts that through their own state's gray area accommodate direct to your door shipping to anywhere from 21 to 23 states.
Nice.
So slowly but surely and surgically, we continue to forge forward there.
Awesome. So let's turn it back to cigars. So what's the next progression with cigars? So almost a year later, we talk again. And I think I asked you the question, what do you foresee in the next year? And I think some of the things that you said, if my memory serves correctly, you've achieved those things, creating that connectedness to the consumer. So you're doing at such a very high level. So what does the next year look like?
More of the same, but whilst being very respectful and attentive to the changes that are about to befall us, because I do not have my head in the clouds whatsoever. Like, this isn't just last year's shift was something that I knew after we achieved traction in these new directions. Like, we were, a new change in landscape was going to befall us, within a year following that, so I'm very much aware that I think that we're in the process of entering into a new dimension of dementia, so to speak. with that, and keeping the finger on the pulse as tightly as possible to move with it as it shifts, I think is critical. Still championing our message down through the mind holes of every single willing or partially willing or unexpecting viewer on any Zoom or digital interaction through our social, through our shadow army, which is now officially taking enlistment, which I think is interesting, and we'll see where that leads us.
I saw a comment the other
cool.
day about that. I was like, well, because whoever runs your shadow army, make sure to which I still think is you, but maybe it's not.
Oh, it ain't me, Doug, but that's okay. You can keep thinking
it. I you know what? It's because I think I desperately want it to be you. But every time I comment on anything, what always comes about, it doesn't matter what I post, could be it literally could be not cigar related. Yeah. Whoever runs that shadow army just says first Maduro every single time.
That's like, amazing.
And it cracks me up every single time. It's literally gotten to the point where it's like, I look forward to that being the response. And I almost count down the amount of time it takes for whoever runs that to actually comment and go, where's the farce Maduro? And then often that person will say how wrong I am in my selection of premium tobacco products. And then we'll end it with farce Maduro every single time. Cracks me up.
Yeah.
Matt, you're breaking up again.
How about now?
Oh, it's a little better. It's a little better.
Like those old animatronics at like a Chuck E. Cheese, like
climb that satellite pole.
It's
coming back a little bit. You know,
follow my voice.
I just imagine that scene out of Black Sheep where he's trying to get the cell phone reception and he runs into the tree.
Totally.
If that was what was happening right now, I'd be I would laugh my ass off. We can hear smatterings of you, Matt. I'm trying to imagine where you are right now, and
what if he's getting mugged on the wild? What if he's getting mugged on the toilet?
No, I feel like, I think in my head I'm thinking palm trees. I'm thinking palm trees, around palm trees and a wire fence, and there's a dog probably 20 feet away.
Sorry about the reception. It's my island.
We lost him.
My island has terrible reception.
Well, we lost Matt. Hopefully he jumps back on, because it's like every time we ask him an important question, it's like, boom, here comes the critical answer, and then
it's like if Martin Luther King did his most famous speech down in Washington and the mic cuts out.
Or I Had a Dream is heard by like 10 people in the front row, and everyone's like, what? What'd you say?
Where the bottom?
Oh, that was funny.
Together.
Right. We're bringing him back in. Oh, that was funny.
Okay, can you?
Yeah, we got the first part of it. Keep talking.
We made fun at your expense. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good, bro. It's quite fine.
No, we were
name of
talking.
entertainment.
We were talking about how it would be hilarious. Like Chris was saying, like, could you imagine Martin Luther King? Because I was like saying, hey, we're getting into this critical part of the conversation, which I was so intrigued. I was so interested and focused on it. And then Chris was like, wouldn't it be crazy if Martin Luther King giving his major speech, his mic just cut out? It's just going in and out the whole time.
Holy fuck.
I'm like,
oh my God.
Think about that.
Well, look, first of all, let's not relate my incessant babble to one of the most phenomenal speeches ever given in the history of humankind, but I appreciate the fact that you were so plugged into it that you would make such comments.
I'm that guy down by I'm the guy's like, what's he saying?
What is he saying? Matt Booth, no.
It's like the most important speech ever, and you're like,
we can't hear you.
You know what I actually like about our conversations, and this is kind of like, this also tethers to what I really dig about those clubhouse conversations, is that they have substance, man. And we're covering things that, I mean, look, it's highly enjoyable. Like, I'm just having a fucking conversation with you guys, and I'm very much enjoying myself. But I think, at least I would like to think, the byproduct of it could potentially be enlightening or to some degree of value for, people creeping on our convo,
Yeah.
Oh, just creeping in. Just
Don't you
what's
think
Matt
that's
Booth
weird too? That like so many people can just come and go in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was strange, especially about podcasts in general. Like video's been shot forever, and it's weird too because like I think about film production or TV production has like it's a very specific thing. It's scripted, it's intentional, but these are often, I don't want to say the planning part isn't ad hoc, but the conversations often are. Like, I don't come into this, I have a subset of questions that I want to ask you, Matt, because I'm genuinely curious and I'm interested. And then a lot of it is just us having a conversation. And it's like, I feel like there's so many people on the outside, almost like stadium style, when I think about people listening to the podcast that are just like listening in to us having this conversation. Like, we're sitting on a stage and we're talking, and there's just a bunch of people around us listening.
Oh, that'd be
it's
sweet,
a really
right?
creepy thing, because I think about
Like
that
a-
often. It freaks
Like
me
a
out.
Motley Crue concert, but it's just 3 stools in the middle of the stage.
Yeah. Do you say 3 tools or stools?
Stools.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about stool?
Yeah.
Gotta take a
My
shit.
man. We've gotten to the poopy part of this thing. We're gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
we've been
down.
there.
I can hang.
We've been there. Yeah, toilet time. That, and by the way, that's the last segment. It's called toilet time.
Here's the thing. This
Awesome.
whole clubhouse thing, I feel like the kid not picked at the fucking kickball game.
Oh
Because
yeah, Matt.
I
Listen
have
to
a-
why Chris can't get Clubhouse. Listen to this and just make fun of him as he says it.
I have an Android.
He has an Android phone, and you can't get the Clubhouse
I have
app on an
I have
Android
an
phone.
Android.
Why you got that bitch ass phone? Why you tripping?
He does. How stupid is that?
I'm a
Well,
nerd.
no,
I
it's
can't help it.
Android's good because you don't want all your conversations popping up on your home computer. That's the whole thing with the. I literally
Dude, that's true.
the cat that so Android for clandestine activities, iPhone for social and whatnot. And I think about what bitch made designer at Apple came up with the idea that a man's text messages
Pops
should
up
populate to every fucking device in his household simultaneously. You got executives jumping out the fucking windows of their offices, bro. Like, that's the ultimate hater move. Like, that dude was such a hater. He was like, now I got you. They'll know. Yeah.
It is kind of messed
Don't worry.
up. I remember the
worry.
first time that happened when I
Dude.
got my Apple, MacBook Air, and then all of a sudden everything started syncing together, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I'd send a text message and I see it pop on my computer, like, "What is happening right
The
now?"
worst.
Yeah.
Is the
Fucking
black-
NSA. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's
Like,
messed up.
relax. Yeah.
The worst.
Don't worry. We're systems preferences warriors, as we are everything else. But man, watch out for that update. Ooh,
Oh, for sure. How many?
magically put you back to square zero. with that
Yeah.
thing.
Hey, Matt. So how long will you push? How long will you push out an update when you see it pop up? Like, how long will you go? Will you go until it absolutely forces you, where it's like, "Hey, motherfucker, you can't
Yeah.
use this phone anymore unless you update it."
Absolutely.
Let someone else figure out the
or
bugs.
they'll get me in the middle of the night when the phone's plugged in. It'll
That
creep
too.
update me.
Mm,
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that. When you wake up
Mhm.
the next morning and it's like you have
Keep it
the new
unplugged.
you have like the new software scrolly thing, and you
Mhm.
go, "Where did this come from?"
Mhm.
Motherfuckers, every time.
Full on violator,
Oh, I
I-
hate
like
I'll
that.
tell
in
you
and
what,
out in the middle of the night.
The worst is when you have work, right? You have work on your machines. That's what I have this laptop for, is work. But when personal stuff starts popping in to that experience of working while other people are viewing my screen, and then I get a text message saying I just got a hemorrhoid again, and you're just like, oh fuck.
I was
Like,
gonna see that.
Zoom call, saw that shit like while I was sharing my screen.
Well, I mean, you can deactivate it at this point, Chris, if you.
I know, but you don't think
Okay.
about those things, when they happen. You don't think about them.
Yeah.
You
that's-
talking about the
You know-
hemorrhoid or the message?
That's why I love being me, because if shit like that pops up for me, it's all good. Like, it's never bad,
yeah,
because
it's never bad.
you can't get too weird in my world. People just expect it. They're like, for him,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. They
Someone
go.
else
Oh, they
fired.
go.
Pain,
Matt,
you
par
know?
for the course. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if anybody looks at it offensively, that's not the type of human you want in your life.
No, then
Yeah.
be gone.
So, Matt, We were kind of on the conversation of progression in terms of what does the next year look like. I think we were a bit derailed in that.
Well,
I want to know a little bit more as far as intentionality. So let's say fast forward a year. Where do you hope to be in the cigar world this time in 2022?
bottom line, top line sales doubled again. Taking back incrementally or establishing a stronger stance for our product strategically at brick and mortar and key locations. Building an even stronger bond with our, let's call them our top 10 devotees at retail, our truest of true partners. Custom projects, continuing to walk the finest of fine lines between the balance of core products and limited hype driven products and everything and anything in between. Continuing to experiment with the potency of the consolidation of some of our most devoted fan follower or brand followership in the Shadow Army, and activating that further.
I love it.
Back in the day, I would have said global domination. Now I just want what's mine.
I feel like you could be in a position where now that you can kind of choose how to grow and be smarter about the partners you have, especially at the retail level, that while you want to do good business, right? You want to have great business with them. You almost have these other factors to consider, like the moral and ethical and synergy between you and that retail shop too. It's almost like it almost seems like you want to find your best friends to partner with, and then put your products through them versus other, because I imagine this is going to be quite a vetting process for you, trying to go through all these companies and all these retailers and brick and mortars that trying to narrow it down to who do I actually want to do business with, like forever if I can.
Well, look, man, I mean, my philosophy has always been very simple. With arms wide open, I would welcome anyone into our fold that was, championing for what is the truest spirit of partnership in a way that is reciprocal and of mutual benefit. And, because there are takers on each side of that counter,
right.
And as a small craft company, I have no time to entertain that. And I would never put one of my existing or potential partners in a position where our relationship was out of balance. Like if I felt that we weren't, if it wasn't the right time, air quotes, for one reason or another, for us to fully and properly activate someone on any scale, I wouldn't do it. I would wait, and I would work with them to pilot the business, even personally, many times. It's my pleasure to do that. And I think that that's, one of the cornerstones ultimately of anyone's success is not only the ability to identify opportunity. Many times over, it's far more important to identify false opportunity. And in that equation, false opportunity comes in the form of, a potential partner that's selling you on one thing and intent, or even not intent, but capability to follow through on it doesn't exist, right?
Right.
Like they're selling you a bill of shit. So 6 months later, you've expended energy, you've extended yourself. A store owner could have potentially built up a company's brand in their store, full infection, hand selling, everything that it takes to actually sell a product. So I hate to break it to you, it doesn't sell itself.
No, it does not.
You should make a soundbite out of that.
I will.
It doesn't sell itself.
Oh, that's good too. It actually sounds.
It's kind of like haunting, like a ghost.
Yeah. It doesn't suck itself, and it doesn't sell itself. Understand me? And this will never be untrue. Now, there are certain things that, because of time and grade and traction and marketing and yada yada, sell better than others in certain environments. Right. But, I think that, to finish that thought, a store owner could have invested themselves 6 months in entrenching a brand within their store, within the walls of their store, and to their daily guys, weekly, whoever, like that brand is now in the weekly to bi-weekly rotation of 90% of their direct consumer base, and they've done all the right things. And then something occurs, something goes sideways, or it starts to teeter and momentum plateaus, and okay, we got to hit on the gas a little bit here. And we're going to try to program internally for a minute, run a couple little incentives. Okay, that worked, but we kind of need a little, let me get with the owner and see what's going on and what we can do to take this to the next level. By the way, I've just described a hyper proactive retailer, by the way.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And I was thinking about that just based on my experience, just going into, brick and mortar shops. I think part of it, I would say a challenge, at least from what I've seen, is that one, there's a severe lack of knowledge and experience in a lot of places, unless you are talking to an owner, you're talking to, a manager of a particular facility. If you're talking about folks that they have come in there, I was like, there's a shop local to us. It's like every time I go in, it's someone new. There's always someone new. And then you have to re-engage them with an understanding around the industry and so on. And the Room 101 brand may be a brand. It's one of however many they're carrying on their shelves. It's like, what kind of time and attention is that particular sales rep going to take focusing on your line? And that's, I've seen that. I've seen some of those shifts and changes as you begin to see some attrition in certain shops and new blood being brought in. And then it almost seems like that dynamic shifts a lot. So is that a challenge that you've come up against, or is the tactic and or the overall strategy to make sure that with the owners of those organizations that they're disseminating that message from top down?
I work, I try to work the best I can directly with owners, managers, staff, make sure they're all trained up, make sure they've gotten a dose of the booth, frequently
right.
enough, to keep that, you know what I'm saying? But the difference is when my partners pick up the phone to call me, there's an answer at the other end of that line. And in many cases, on whatever side of the counter you're on, when that phone call goes out, there's 50% easy, I'd say that's conservative, that there is no answer at the other end of that line. And that's not a partnership. That's a taker. But the thing is how many adventures and discovery must be made between the two casts in this story, the retail side, the vendor side, et cetera. Because for small craft companies, I mean, if you're dealing with someone that is unbeknownst to you piloting a one-way partnership, it can be very damaging, and for a smaller store, the same thing. Every shelf space in a retailer store is an apartment that has to pay them rent, every month.
Yeah, it's a good point. So let me ask you this question. Are you excited to get back to events?
Fuck no. Don't you even say that. Fucking horrible. Oh my God. Fucking no. But you know what? I am.
What the fuck?
You like, I am flip the script on you, boy. No, but look, here's the deal. I am, because now I have a new plan.
Okay.
And I'm going to execute that plan with no mercy. And they're going to be
Jackson
much
thing?
fewer. What's that?
You gonna do that Michael Jackson thing and just do holograms?
Oh, I thought you meant like light my hair on fire while filming a commercial. I didn't know what part. There were so many things.
What could it be?
There were so many. Oh my God, I was like, wow. Well, I mean, that would be visually interesting for a minute. So, they're going to be fewer and further between, and have the depth and girth that both sides truly deserve as outcome from that evolution.
So you're saying collapsing the quantity and uptick in quality.
Quality, yeah.
100%.
Nice. Come to
100%.
Ohio.
You know, man, Ohio is actually a place that I would come to because I have some very, very valid partners out there.
There you go. They're probably not anywhere around us because that's what would happen. It'd be like, here's, hey, my best guys are in Cleveland. I'd be like, wow, that's 3.5 hours away.
So are you saying you wouldn't drive to see Matt Booth?
No, I would for sure.
I would. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'd pitch a tent outside the store.
You'd pitch a tent in the store if you know what I'm saying.
I was waiting for someone else to make the joke, and I should have known it'd be you literally a second and a half after I said that.
Look, man, I'm not gonna, lie to you. I've built this entire brand on my sexuality.
Yeah,
everything else falls in line behind that.
I love it. You better keep it going.
There's nothing I can do.
I love
other than that.
So part of the strategy is because you've always been present at a lot of things. And that, I think that's part of the association just with who you are and the reputation that you have in the industry. I was desperately hoping that wouldn't go away. And your answer initially led me to believe that it was. And I was like, well, that's disappointing, but I like what your intention and focus is going to be.
Oh, no. My favorite thing. One of my favorite things.
I figured as much. I'm like, I'm crazy and thinking that that's like the thing you love doing.
I love interacting with everybody. That is probably my favorite component of this business, hands down. After all of the fucking bullshit, after all over all the years, I still love the fucking people, man.
Yeah, the people.
I love the fucking people.
It seriously makes it. It really does. I could not agree more. It absolutely makes it. And I think it does in a lot of industries. I'm not saying every industry, but in most industries, it's just like there's that commonality that you can build no matter what it is that you are enjoying or have a passion around or whatever it may be. Even if you just consider yourself a hobbyist, it's like there's no shortage of amazing people out there that you get to interact with on a literally on a daily basis. You know, that's for us, that social media platform provide, and it's oftentimes very overwhelming, but it's cool when you can have those, even if they're virtual electronic conversations with people. It's so much fun. Like I have it's never a burden ever, like ever. That's why I always make it a point. And I've told Chris this too. I was like, there's not a comment that comes in that I don't reply to. And it's not because I feel like I have to do it. It's because I want to do it. You know, if someone says something meaningful, I want to say something meaningful back. And that to me is like, that's the exchange that people deserve and that I want to have. So there's a lot of that in the cigar industry, which I really love. That interactivity is very cool.
Completely agreed. I feel exactly the same. But for physical presence in market, this is going to be, a triple down on quality over quantity. And you catch a Matt Booth sighting in the wild, it's going to be like seeing a white tiger in nature or a big natural breast. It's going to be a very chance and very equity rich experience because of the limited nature of that sighting.
I love that approach. I like that. And you know what? I'll even if you don't come to Cleveland, I'll drive from afar to make sure that
I'm going to go to Youngstown, bro.
Wow. That's bold. Hey, bold move, man. Youngstown. What's I
fucking love Youngstown.
Really?
Oh, one of my longest standing supporters and one of the best friends I've made in the business owns Havana House in Youngstown.
Yeah, Havana House is the shit. I've been there.
Well, of course they're the shit.
I mean, really.
Yeah,
really cool.
I love Youngstown. It's like the sister city of Spokane, Washington.
Man, that's actually
Spokane has less car bombings per capita, but it's very similar.
Well, it's also not mafia ridden either. So there's that.
That's correct.
I've been to Spokane one time and it was a treat. It was kind of crazy. And then I drove over to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
But it was cool. Yeah.
There you go.
I've got, before we wrap up, Matt, I've got 3 questions for you.
Are these like rapid fire or just I can take my time because I'm very nervous as you can
you absolutely take your time.
Okay.
And some of them would be like fashion. Have you ever crashed a wedding?
No.
Have you ever wanted to?
Wait a minute. Maybe. And yeah, of course. Yes. The want is there for sure. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of gaps in my memory from certain periods of my life. I'm sure you understand, but there were some of the best times that I'll never forget that I can't remember. that makes sense. So I mean, I could.
So
I
you're
very
like,
well could.
so what you're saying is like, there's a real possibility.
Would you prefer it to be a random stranger that you just happen upon, or someone you know?
Fuck, well, both. I want to do both, and there are differences to the dynamic for both.
They're definitely.
And I would say it's highly possible, just because I know that want or interest in that type of activity has been a constant. Like that's just, I'm not realizing that I'd be interested in that because you asked me. Like I very well have known that I have
Did you want to
fancied the idea. Yeah. So I probably popped in somewhere, got me a little dessert, whatever. Don't know.
I love it.
Participated in some line dancing of
Open
sorts.
bar, pretty cool.
I can just totally see you doing that too. That's the best part. I could see you flipping on like a cowboy hat and just getting on the dance floor.
Bro, they would love me.
Which I hope one day you do.
That would be
until they didn't.
Yeah, until they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Get him out of here.
Yeah, what the
No, but
fuck?
you would be the beloved guy that everybody goes, wait, is he related to so and so? Is that Uncle Tony's cousin's brother's nephew? And then you go, absolutely, of course that's me.
Just here with Steve.
Oh, Steve,
on behalf
on Jeanette's side of the family. Yep.
All right. Do you have a secret place you go to when you want to be alone?
Rocky Patel's boat.
Oh shit.
Wait, no.
I want to go there.
No, I was just thinking about Rocky Patel.
Oh.
That's not true. I think about him often. I'm very vocal about my obsession with him.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm very obsessed with Rocky. I always have been.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like a freaking amazing dude. So I don't know if your obsession is because you have some like sincere admiration for him, or if it's something else.
No, there's nothing nefarious about this. It's just sheer unbridled adoration and strange attraction to his powerful aura.
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Like
someone argue that you have that though too,
Well, I mean, tomato.
Sure.
If you will, as it were.
Okay, I've got another one for you.
Was there a question? Oh no, where would I go if I want to be alone?
Yeah.
Man, I rarely want. I just want to be with my son. So alone to me is like him and me together.
Good.
Anywhere,
answer.
really. Yeah.
So I have two questions for. I have two more for you.
Ask me.
How many people have you dated?
Like full penetration? Because when you say the word date, I see a dick. So
full pen. Full pen makes it so much better.
Full pen. I mean, I've never really kept track. All I'm gonna say is, I mean, look, I didn't get this far by not being able to throw the dick like Hercules. That's all I'm gonna say. Is that a subtle enough way to put that?
I like it.
Yeah. Because I don't want to seem like, I just got, put my back into it. I want to be humble and deliver with humility the idea that I can fully destroy your downstairs mix-up.
Yeah.
So how do
I not end on that? God damn it.
I never kept track. I don't know. Keeping track was never a thing to me. It was just, it's just part of the process.
No, I'll tell you what, that was a hell of an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I just say what happens in the moment. I don't really think about what I say, as you can probably tell.
I know that's literally my favorite part about you.
Was that politically correct? Now I'm scared.
That doesn't matter. It's a podcast.
Are the Herculaneums going to come for me? Are we going to?
You know what? Hey, remember when we had this conversation about haters already, and don't care. That's my philosophy. If you don't like it,
Hercules.
If you don't like it, you don't have to listen. That's what I always say. It's like no one's holding the headphones to your ears. Like you have a choice.
Oh, bro, I think we're long past that. That would be completely logical.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. And you know what? The hate comes from such a small percentage anyway. It's just like you're not.
Very true.
You're not the majority. Last question for you. What charity holds a special place in your heart?
There are several charities that specialize in Alzheimer's research, and also just general support for caregivers, to people with Alzheimer's, for people with Alzheimer's, and any charity surrounding that has a far more special place in my heart. Of course, I could say, any Wounded Warrior driven charity is also very important to me. I have a former captain from my company in the Marine Corps, Captain Maxwell. He actually started the Wounded Warrior Regiment actually before Wounded Warrior Project existed, and it was a small like barracks on Camp Pendleton, where guys that came back that were injured could kind of stabilize and help feed them back into society. And that is also a very special charity for me. But I know that there are a tremendous amount of people that are already very heavily active in that space, and I think that that the Alzheimer's stuff could definitely receive as much attention as anyone could throw at it, and then some.
Yeah, it's one of those. It is kind of interesting. It's one of those areas, and I know, like, a lot's put into cancer research, right? Obviously, rightfully so. With the Alzheimer's things and like the progression that is made in modern medicine, literally every day, and you think about something like that that's so debilitating and oftentimes such a quick fashion, that it's like, I feel like more has got to be done on that front. That is honestly a thought that scares me, like between like Alzheimer's, dementia is one thing that always kind of like, I don't know why, but I think about it in terms of like me aging into my 60s and 70s, because I have friends who have parents or grandparents who suffer from it. And it's like, wow, I just have a hard time fathoming that like could potentially be me or someone really close to me in the future. It's like, I hope that more progress is made on those fronts.
I wouldn't even wish Alzheimer's on an enemy.
Yeah.
And there's not much that I wouldn't. But the reason for that is, like, I would want my, and I have few and far between, but the people that have earned that status or could potentially perpetrate an act against my family, loved ones, etc., that could potentially earn that title, whatever I'm going to do to them, I want them to remember. And I want them to be conscious. So I wouldn't even wish it on my worst of worst enemies.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So it should be eradicated.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If possible.
Agreed. Totally agree. Well, I will say this, Matt, it is such a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Seriously, I don't know why, like, I get so excited, like even just in the brief conversation we had on Saturday, I think I called or texted Chris. I know you came over. I was like, hey, we're going to have Matt on next week. And I was like, so giddy about it. Like, I look forward to it for the entire week. So I thank you once again for joining us, and I'll make sure that the interval next time isn't as long. Actually, I'll make Chris make sure that it isn't as long, since it was his fault initially.
Well, look, until that moment, I will be pining for the next time that we will circle the wagons and share such a phenomenal moment, a stitch in time with each other once again. And I always, it's the level of appreciation it cannot be expressed. If I said I appreciated your time and you put me on your show, it would be almost an insult to how much I do appreciate it. It's the gesture's not lost on me, and I just appreciate you. So thank you.
Yeah,
likewise.
You're welcome. We appreciate you as well. And hopefully, are you going to be on the TLE Clubhouse thing again on Saturday?
Well, shit, yeah.
Cool.
Every Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I know, and that's I know it's someone actually mentioned that it was early for you because he's on West Coast time.
Oh,
at 11,
right. Okay.
So he's got to get up at 8. And I was like, well, he's not that early. But then I think about, like, man, you're committing to this a Saturday morning at 8. That's pretty freaking awesome. Yeah. I dig it. I had a lot of fun on the last one. It was cool.
No, it was a great time, man. And look, the levels of destruction I've been at during that time over the last few weeks have varied, but it's a cool anchor for me. Like, no matter what, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to tuning in this Saturday as well. So, Matt, thank you so much, my friend.
Yes,
take care, and we'll definitely talk to you before another year.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
See you, Matt.
See you, Matt.
Take care.
I'm so sweaty.
Why are you sweaty?
Dude, I think it's a sweater, but oh my God, my back is dripping. It's like a waterfall and it's fucking cold outside. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just not, it's just this room, this office is always 10 to 15 degrees hotter than every other spot in the house all the
Really?
time. And I think it's part of Carlisle's methane farts that literally gets stuck in the carpet that like it stinks so bad in this office all the time because of his gas. It is
Ew.
atrocious. I have to steam clean the floors just because it absorbs all of his stink. They're horrible. They're horrible. So I smell it all the time, just like wafting in it constantly.
Ew.
It's real gross. But anyway, how about that conversation with Matt?
It's always fun.
Dude, it's like literally one of my favorite people to talk to.
I feel left out, man.
So cool. You feel left out?
Yeah, clubhouse thing, you know, it's like a private club and you can't get in.
Dude, even if you had an iPhone, you're not gonna jump on that shit at 11 on Saturday.
Maybe.
The cool thing is you only have to listen in. There's no obligation for anything. Like you can just listen in and then they can bring you, like they brought me in on part of the panel, like real quick to talk and discuss, and then they can kick you out of the panel and you can only listen in again. It's really cool. It's a cool app. And there's a lot of people that like came and went, and it's audio only. There's no video. So you can, I was just chilling in the backyard and it was a lot of fun. It's super insightful when Matt's on there too, because you talk about things that are interrelated to cigars, but not necessarily centric. And it's good conversation. It's just a good way to like get people's perspectives and opinions on certain things in the cigar industry. And the girls from TLE do a good job of like navigating what that conversation is going to be. And Matt, of course, being like I would say the bigger personality on it and the one that people kind of want to extract information from. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. So
I guess I'll just be that person that walks by the window of a closed shop. I wonder closed, but I see people in it, and I'm standing at the glass.
I wonder if you could get it on your Mac. Like I don't know if there's a browser-based way to get into it.
Yeah, I already looked.
That's
they're building an Android version though.
Well, that's good. It was a short amount of time right before they did that. It's a very new app. Like it's not. There's a ton of people on it now, but it's super new.
I think there's people in there.
Hey,
it says it's closed, but
it's funny too because I've had people suggest to me that I should start like, hey, why don't you guys do a Clubhouse thing? And I was like, I don't need more things to do. I really like Clubhouse because I can jump into something when I want to. Like it's cool because like if something occurs, like TLE's doing one tonight, they do one on Thursday nights at like 8. If I want to jump into it, I can, and I can just listen. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to produce. I don't have to do work. I don't have to narrate. I don't do shit. Like I can just be there. I don't have to facilitate nothing. And I really actually like that about the platform. It's like, I just come and go as I please. Yeah. I really like that conversation with Matt, as always. Such a pleasure. He's such a good, I don't know what it is, but he's, I had a really shitty day today, dude. And like talking to him just literally made my day. It really did. Like I had a really, really terrible day today. And then I was like, oh, cool. We get to talk to Matt. And I instantly got excited. So that was nice.
That is nice.
You look sleepy.
I have been burning the midnight oil of stress and work.
Really?
Yeah, man. I'm just,
Are you ever going to get out of it? You ever going to get it cleared?
Eventually.
Okay. I believe you. I ain't trusting you.
Yeah.
Deep breaths, right? I always say deep breaths. You do headspace.
I do.
Religiously.
Dude, if you want to fall asleep fast, get Headspace Premium membership. I have one. I've been doing it for a while. They do these readings for sleep that help you get into the mindset of breathing, but then these people start like reading off a story to you in the most calm and gentle voice. And just
what else helps me fall asleep?
Masturbating.
You talking about Headspace.
Yeah, I know.
If you just kept talking about
You ready for a nap?
I've been reading a book by Peter Lynch on the stock market. So I'm currently 155 pages into that book.
Oh, you're learning how to make good, sound, safe financial future for yourself, and I'm doing self-help.
Yes, correct. That is my reading material currently. Is how do I make more money for myself? Hey, everyone's got their problems. Oh shit, that's funny. All right. We should probably conclude this episode. I have no idea if we're gonna have another interview next week.
Maybe.
It's a possibility.
I'm just going with the flow of things.
We're on the third one. You know what's weird? And I've said this before. I told you this. There's times in which I don't want to talk to anybody. And
That's how I am most of the time.
Like to you and well, yeah. Well, I don't know. For me, it switches. And it literally is like it comes in waves. So there's times where it's like I just want to concentrate on cigars, and this is like what I want the focus to be, and I want us to just have our normal chats. And then there's time where I get in this weird frequency of like I want to just talk to people, and I'm in that mode right now where it's like I just want to talk to people. I want to get a line up more interviews. I want to do that, and then I'll be out of that again. Then it'll be like, oh, it's weird because like a lot of people, it's like, well, I'll have a guest on this week, or I'll do this week, and it's like every other. It's like for me, it's like whenever I feel that I want to get back to talking to other humans, I'll do so. And then the other times it's just like being reclusive and just talking, just you and I. So just depends.
Yeah. You know, there's a big part of me that it can be very extroverted. And then there's another part of me where it's like when I talk all day, the last thing I want to do is talk.
Yeah. I mean, that's my life too.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And you talk way more a day than I do with people. And I find mine.
Yeah, my entire job. My entire job is talking, but I'm used to it. And you know what? I'm naturally inquisitive. So there's certain things that like topically I want to discuss, and I'm anxious to do so. Like I want to get into it, you know? So it's like, I don't know. It just, it's like an innate part of just who I am. I'm just used to it and I like it. I enjoy it. So, but anyway, let's get the fuck out of this episode. It's almost 6:30. So, visit our show sponsor. This show, you know what we've never done? This show is brought to you by this show is
Cigar Pack.
My Cigar Pack, which by the way,
do you like cigars? Do you like not having to pick them?
We don't have a call with Alex now. I told you that already. That sick son of a bitch. Our show sponsor fucking canceled our call. We had a call in 4 minutes and he fucked it up. He fucked it up. Enter. He thinks somehow education is more important.
Get yourself a 5-pack and at checkout, put in promo code fuck off.
Visit mycigarpack.com. Enter promo code suck it. SUCKIT at checkout. For nothing off. As a matter of fact, it'll charge you an extra $5.
It'll say invalid, but that's because they're not receptive to being assholes.
Oh, I love that. Enter promo code fuck off. Oh no, but for real, enter promo code hot10 at checkout, $10 off your first pack. Also visit our website, www.hotticketweekly.com. There's supposed to be a review up this week, but I'm waiting on a graphic from somebody. So
I got to do that.
That has not been published yet, but by the time you hear this, it'll be published. So you can check that out, www.hotticketweekly.com, where you can basically anything we do on the show, all the reviews, all that stuff housed on the website, except the videos. The videos are no longer up there. So you got to go to YouTube for those videos. So sorry, you got to go another direction, which is fine. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
All right. That concludes episode 192. We'll be back at you next week with episode 193. See you, everyone.